Hello, welcome to Sideways. This week, we're talking about how there's been a reduction in the number of reportings of people being taken up by spaceships and probed, and what it might have to do with alcohol. We're also talking about the different types of alcohol-induced blackouts, and we managed to weave our way there from a conversation about pancakes and the 1970s chart toppers, Showaddywaddy. Alien abduction. Sorry I'm late.
That's okay. No problem, mate. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
All right, yeah. Did you have a nice Father's Day breakfast this morning then?
Yeah, pancakes, bacon, maple syrup.
Excellent. Sounds very indulgent.
And love.
And love, yeah. That's the main ingredient, mate, isn't it?
It is really, isn't it? Yeah. Although,
yeah,
it's not usually on the ingredients list for pancakes.
Well, I think it should be.
I like a pancake. How do you feel about a pancake?
I love a pancake in any fashion, either savoury or sweet, anything. Love them.
Do you prefer an American-style pancake or a crepe?
I don't know. Well, I know what a crepe is. It's a very thin pancake, but it's an American one. What is that, a thicker one?
Yeah, they're sort of smaller but thicker, the ones that you quite often see in pictures piled up high with maple syrup drizzled all over them.
All right, I'm more of a crepe man in that case.
I've heard that said about you.
Hey, boom.
Did you ever have any crepe-soled shoes?
Yeah, I think I did at some point. Yeah. I think I.
Yeah, I certainly did. In when Showaddywaddy were quite popular.
Yeah, I think they're all the rage. I think they did set a little bit of a trend, Showaddywaddy. A bit of under the moon of love. You can't go wrong with that.
I used to really love Showaddywaddy.
Well, yeah, I think everyone has a little bit of a soft spot for them. That's for sure. They're pretty easy listening, aren't they?
They took me on 3 steps to heaven.
I didn't like them that much. They were okay.
I had that album, I think, 3 Steps to Heaven, and I've got a feeling, I'm going to look it up after we finished. I think the photo on the front was a sort of blue sky with a crepe-soled shoe walking up a staircase. There's nothing like a little bit of literal representation, is there?
They didn't think too hard about that, did they, really? No, you're right.
Not really, no. Whoever did the artistic design for that didn't really earn their money that day, did they?
Didn't really put a shift in, did they? No, you're right.
Anyway,
so you've been up to Hereford during the week then?
Yeah, I went to Hereford in biblical rain to look at some dogs.
That sounds madness to go that far to look at a dog.
Well, you say it sounds madness, but let me tell you that on that particular day, I calculated 9.5 hours in the car and 45 minutes at the destination that I was going to. So how about that?
Oh my God! No, I can't see that. There's plenty of strays around here you could have. I'll look one up and bring one over.
Don't open up that particular can of worms, because that whole sort of getting a puppy as opposed to rescuing a dog is something that I've been wrestling with. But there is great enthusiasm in my grown-up children for a puppy, and it probably, considering their ages now, it'll probably be the last puppy that we have while they're still around at home. So that's the way I've sold it to myself.
So have you bought one then?
Not yet, but we will do, and I'll be back into that sort of stage of looking after a puppy that is just far enough away now for me to have forgotten what a horror it is.
4.5 hours, 4 hours each way or whatever. That's just madness, man. I mean, I was moaning to myself having to drive 5 minutes to the farmer's market this morning.
Let me guess. Pears and apples and some Colombian coffee.
Exactly. Yeah, the little Colombian coffee lady. Because I said to her last time I went across there, I said, you always remember exactly what I want. How do you do that? She said, I'm very good with faces. And I can remember I associate them with the coffee they buy, and it sort of helps me with the sales. Well, she said, but I'm really terrible at names. And I said to her, so I'll tell you my name. So when I come across next time, I'll just see if you can remember it. I said, my name's Martin. And she said, okay. She said, I'll try and remember, what shall I associate that with? Martin Freeman. All right, he said, I remember, he's one of my favourite actors. We're talking about he was in The Office and Ali G in the House and all that. So she got it into my Martin Freeman. So I walked over her today and I said, hello. And she said, hello, Morgan. She'd remembered the Freeman bit, the association, but still got the name wrong.
I don't know how you could remind anyone of Morgan Freeman, I'm sure. It's a good job you didn't remind her of Freeman, Hardy and Willis, the old shoe shop. She might have said, all right, Hardy, all right, Willis.
So I put her straight, but I felt a bit guilty about putting her straight, but I thought I can't let her go under that illusion. She'd be calling me Morgan forevermore.
Exactly. You'd be like Dave in Only Fools and Horses, wouldn't you? Instead of Rodney.
Yeah. Anyway, we've had quite a bit of a preamble here, haven't we?
Yeah. Well, I suppose it beats having a preamble about grapes, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was terrible. That was terrible. But
I was just thinking actually about the woman at the farmer's market. I would have thought you had you've got a kind of face that is very easy to remember.
Oh yes, remembers the face, but you can't remember names.
Sometimes I'm haunted by it.
Especially looking across at you now via a Zoom meeting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about today then? Anyway.
Well, I've called the notes for this episode "Alien Abduction."
All right, I'll use your title this week.
Okay. So you just have to stick with me to see how it sort of fits in with the overall ethos of our podcast and the messages we're trying to get across.
Yeah, my fear is that at this point, as people are listening and they hear that the episode is called Alien Abduction, that it will be promising much more than it actually delivers. Oh,
yeah. No, it falls terribly short of that. That's for sure. But it was triggered by an article that I was reading that was it was slightly tongue-in-cheek. Actually, the spell check has changed that to lounge in cheek. But you know what I mean? Not much room in there for a lounge, but it was.
Unless you're a hamster.
You've got plenty of room there. But anyway, the article, it did make me laugh, but it was looking at the fact that the amount of reported alien abductions had fallen quite dramatically during lockdown. And they were proffering a few ideas as to why this would potentially be. What they come up with, there's 2 or 3 points. One, they felt there was less drunken people wandering the streets at night, which is apparently is often the precursor of a potential alien abduction story.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I remember those days. And perhaps they thought that the little green fellas don't like sober people. So they pick up the drunk one. So, yeah, to me, that's a good reason to remain abstinent. You've got less chance of getting abducted. Yeah, and also they thought that perhaps the aliens were scared of catching COVID. I mean, they ought to be taking that back to their planet, do they? But it reminded me that all the alien, because I looked at, I was researching alien abductions. There's lots of sort of videos of people complaining about they were taken up into a beam of light and all this sort of thing. But all the aliens tend to look the same. Now, since E.T. came out, everyone sees the aliens as exactly that. They're probably the ones, if they do get abducted now, they'll probably see aliens wearing masks.
Yeah.
And it's surprising how often they've been probed as well. I think as soon as aliens take you up, you're going to get probed. That's the end of the story.
What does that consist of, being probed by an alien?
Well, I don't really know. I want to sort of gloss over that bit because I don't like the sound of it.
I'm just thinking there, I wonder if there's ever been any research into a correlation between reported alien abduction and alcoholism.
Well, I think they're alluding to it slightly here.
They're alluding to it, but I wonder if anyone's actually done any sort of, if there's any empirical evidence that would prove that there is a connection or a likelihood that the two things are connected.
I think they're struggling to find that alien abductions is actually real, so I don't think that actually ever occurs.
No, I mean reported alien abductions. Maybe you could cut out the middleman, and if you report an alien abduction, you put people straight into rehab.
It could be. Well, I was thinking that in my notes here, I've referred to alien abduction. I've just shortened that to AA. So, there's a connection
I can see what you did there.
Yeah. Yeah, so that perhaps there's a conspiracy theory in the making there. I think we can get a bit of traction on that one.
We're bound to be able to, with the sort of social influence we have.
Yeah, exactly. Well, often people that have had these experiences, and they describe the events as a sort of a blackout. When they come around a few hours later, they've got sort of sketchy memories of what has happened. And it just reminded me that, we get a number of stories that often crop up in groups about alcoholic blackouts. And they can be a serious problem. So I just want to look at what blackouts are, because there's a couple of different types. Because people get a little bit confused with what they are. But basically, a blackout is where you get gaps in someone's memory for events that have occurred while they were intoxicated. Obviously, that happens when you have too much to drink. I'm probably sure you've probably had these sort of blackouts in the past, or sketchy memories. But basically, where you've had so much alcohol that there's a temporary block of the transfer of memories from short-term to long-term storage. Known as memory consolidation.
Yeah, I probably have experienced that. I imagine you're going to tell me if this is right or not, but I imagine probably people suffer those experiences in slightly different ways. Some people might not remember what they did. That's quite common, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the thing that I can remember from the days when I did have a tendency to drink too much, I would often not forget what I did, but I'd forget what I said to people.
Yeah.
Which kind of feels like a slightly different thing. So, and I imagine you've probably got quite a few examples of that in the people that you've met over the years as well.
Very much, yeah. But I mean, there's the two types. I mean, basically, the most common type is the fragmentary blackout that we talked about there. It's characterised by sort of spotty memories of events and what people have said to you and that sort of thing. And you can sort of get islands of memories separated by missing periods of time in between. And those ones as most people have had those or experienced those at some point in their life when they've got a little bit tipsy. But they're sometimes called greyouts or brownouts as well, because they're not a full blackout.
Brownout? That's quite unpleasant. I don't like the connotation there at all.
No, you could read an awful lot into that, couldn't you? But
because I've certainly known of people that have soiled themselves when they're inebriated, which one could consider a brownout, couldn't you?
You could do. That is a regular crime. That often crops up in groups, yeah.
Crops up or craps up?
Fessing up to that sort of behaviour, yeah. Perhaps done a bit of that. But the more serious one is the sort of complete amnesia, where it spans several hours, which is also known as an en bloc blackout. So we borrowed a little bit of a French phrase there. And with that more severe form of blackout, memories of events, they don't form, and typically they can't be recovered. It's as if the event simply never happened. And it's much more the preserve of the discerning alcoholic, really. We have those much more than people that flirt with drinking too much.
Well, you had one for a decade.
Well, I was going to go on to that because, I mean, it's my decade was really initially. Hang on a sec.
Turkey thigh timer is on.
Just going to have to stop you there. I'm just going to, my turkey thigh timer has come up. Hang on 1 second.
Your turkey thigh timer is on.
Alexa, stop. Alexa, set a turkey thigh timer for 40 minutes.
Turkey thigh timer, 40 minutes, starting now.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's a big old turkey thigh you've got, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's quite a sizable joint.
Olive oil, mixed herbs, chili flakes.
No, it had all the stuff and bits and pieces already on it, so I didn't add anything today. No, I just had to scoop a few juices over the top of it and represent it to the oven at that point. Anyway, I don't know where we were, but anyway, you were talking about your lost decade, I think. Yeah, I was, and that was fragmented. The fragmented blackouts I was having all the time, and then they went on to the more severe ones, the complete amnesia, where I would literally not remember anything about the previous few hours. I mean, but we've got to also look at the fact that blackout is not the same as passing out. Which means sort of falling asleep or losing consciousness from drinking too much, which a lot of people do, and it's often inaccurately described as a blackout. I mean, during a blackout, the person's still awake, but it's just that your brain is not creating any new memories. I mean, the stories that come up in groups often culminate in the person coming around in hospital or in a police cell without having been to sleep at all. I remember, but it's very frightening when you do suddenly regain the sort of consciousness, because I'd been out driving, and that sort of thing, and you don't know where you've left the car, or you wake up and you think, did I get the car home, or whatever. It's an awful feeling. You've got absolutely no recollection at that at all. When people used to come up to me in the street when I living over in headquarters, and they're saying, and talking to me as if I was an old mate, and I had no idea who they were, didn't know their name, I knew nothing. And they'd fill in some of the details about, what our previous conversations had been. And I said, well, sorry, I probably had a bit too much to drink. I've forgotten about that. So we didn't appear drunk. You go into these blackouts, you still function absolutely normally, but you're just not making any memories. And it's terrible. And so you can imagine it's no excuse in the eyes of the law, if what you get up to during that period, but you have no recollection of it at all. Very frightening.
I'm just thinking that the impact, one of the impacts that must have on you, it must create so much anxiety that actually it makes you want to have a drink.
Oh, it does very much. Yeah. Once you do, because especially if someone does start to fill in some of the details, and you start to because you can't attach much to it because you really don't remember it. So you have to take on face value what they're telling you, and that's a really uncomfortable situation.
So it's like another aspect of addiction that maintains the addiction, really.
I hadn't really thought about it like that, but yes, it would do. It's part of the cycle.
Yeah, because it's as you describe it, I'm sort of thinking about that and think, crikey, it's not very nice when it happens once, when you've been out and you've had too much to drink, and the next day someone's saying to you, "Do you remember you said this or you did that?" And you're like, "Oh God, no, I didn't, did I?" The sort of embarrassment and the shame that you feel, is quite palpable even in those situations. So if that's something that's happening regularly for you and you're forgetting, great swathes of your existence, there must be an enormous compulsion to try and get away from that. And of course, the go-to strategy that addicts have for getting away from things is to drink or take drugs, isn't it?
It is. But again, you can look at the two types of blackout there, because if someone says to you, "Do you remember what you said?" Sometimes you remember, "Oh God, yeah, I do remember that now." It's suddenly come back in. Yeah. But when you get the more severe type, there's no recollection at all. You have no idea. Your memories have stopped. You can remember stuff from before you went out, and then perhaps when you've got home. But what happened in between? Nothing. Yeah.
So it's like as an example, you don't remember that you used to love American rock, do you?
I think I'm sure that would never have happened, even in my most severest of blackouts. I would never have popped into the local and put a bit of Foreigner on the jukebox. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you did. You see, you're even referring to it now. You virtually naming Jukebox Hero, which was a great song by Foreigner. You see, that's your sort of repressed memory is now beginning to reform.
It's not. No, I've blacked out completely on that. That's definitely right. And that never happened. I'm denying that totally. But I think that the experiences you have like that. Because I often also, and this it comes up in groups also. You wake up and you're covered in bruises. Or you come round and you're covered in bruises. I mean, as an alcoholic, we tend to bruise pretty easily anyway. But you're clumsy, obviously, and you don't know what you've been up to. And you get a lot of aches and pains. And in fact, I remember, I think you get that feeling of being probed again. I think that probably happens as well.
So do you tend to have a tendency to wake up with sort of aches and pains and bruises just because you've been kind of tumbling about all over the place? Is that what it is?
That is part of it. But I think medically, when you are drinking an awful lot, you bruise really easily. You can just knock the edge of a desk or whatever, or knock into something very gently that would not normally bruise you, and you get the terrible bruises.
God, that must be really disturbing as well.
It is, because they're often in weird places on your body, and you really don't know how it's happened. But you can end up almost mottled. Yeah, it's awful.
Well, almost as if you've been abducted by aliens.
Exactly. I'm glad we brought it back round to that, because that's exactly like it is. And that's, I'm sure people will come up with these alien abduction stories. Oh, it definitely happened to me. Look at these marks upon me. They've just been out and they've had too much to drink and blacked out.
Yeah, well, there
So
again,
I'm-
I can think of, situations in my life where I've been out and had too much to drink, and then in the morning you kind of find a graze or a cut somewhere or a bruise, and you think, oh, I don't know how I got that. But that's kind of real one-off. If that's something that's happening constantly, my God, that must be really horrendous.
It's a frightening existence. It is a frightening existence. You're just going between, being slightly awake and aware of what's going on to nothing. And night becomes day becomes night. You've got no idea what day it is or what the hour is. It's just it's awful. And when people are coming onto groups that are just starting to go into recovery, one of the things that I often talk about is the joy and relief of getting away from that horrible cycle that you're in, and it proves to be absolutely true. People do start to put a bit of effort in, and they do start to make new memories, and suddenly life starts to become more of a joy again, rather than an absolute curse.
I mean, in some respects, when you're kind of talking about an experience of addiction and being really in the clutches of drink or drugs, I'm sure some people who listen to this who haven't had experience themselves of addiction, must come back to this question of, my God, it sounds like such a terrible existence. What is it that keeps you kind of going round and round in it? So you can, in that sense, you can kind of understand why people say, why don't you just stop? Because looked at from the outside, it just looks like a hellish existence.
It does. And it's quite difficult to explain to someone that doesn't have those issues, because it does seem a completely irrational way of behaving. It's a bit like the cravings are a bit like, if you hold your breath underwater, and you get to that point where you're really gasping. The only way out of to get away from that panic is to come up out of the water and to take a breath. And that's what happens with drink and drugs. It's that panicky.
I mean, that is an explanation that we could all understand, isn't it? It's like because that is a literal, if I don't get up and take a breath of air, I am going to die.
Yeah, and it's that panic, and it's like that all the time. So if you can imagine that you're like that, unless you're drinking, which takes that panic away, the minute that starts to fade off, the effect of it, you start to get those panicky feelings.
It's like me going out without my Ventolin.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's how far would you get along the road before you think, oh my God, and then the panic would set in, wouldn't it?
Well, I'll be all right these days, but I can remember when you and I used to go out drinking many years ago, that if I went out and I'd forgotten my Ventolin, you quite often used to say to me, are you getting breathless yet? Are you getting a little bit panicky? You're goading me to have an asthma attack. It was a disgrace.
It wasn't. Well, looking back on it, I think perhaps behaviour wasn't particularly good, but at the time it was fun. But especially the more I had to drink, the funnier it became. Anyway, so if you do experience, anyone that does experience, even if they get that severe one, if it does happen, you've really got to start considering your relationship with alcohol at that point. I think it's a great, if you get to that point where it happens, then something needs to be done about it.
Do you think, I suppose in some respects this might sound like a ridiculous question, but do you think generally people do notice the difference between, I've been out, I've had a drink and I've kind of forgotten what happened last night, the difference between that and something that has become more kind of chronic and more significant? Not
really. I mean, you gradually drift into it. One does blur into the other. The same as the whole condition of alcoholism. It's not, you don't suddenly wake up and become an alcoholic. It's a gradual drift into it. So no, it's quite difficult. But once you get to that point, you do know when you do have these complete blackouts, because you do start to panic. And if that ever happens, talk to your health provider. You've got an issue there you need to sort out. I mean, I'm just grateful that I'm not in that madness anymore.
Is that a segue into gratitude?
Exactly.
It's very good. Okay. So we're on to that now.
Yeah, have you bothered to think about your gratitude this week at all?
Well, I don't really like your attitude, because I think you'll find since we started doing gratitude, I've been absolutely on the ball every single week, haven't I?
Yeah, and that's, well, yeah.
I didn't ever bother to think about anything I'd learned this week. I don't really know why that is. I should probably reflect on that and wonder why I didn't think about that. Perhaps it was more difficult for me to think about that than it is for me to think of things that I'm grateful for. And as you know, I'm not a great fan of hard work.
No, quite. And I've always known that about you.
I'm actually grateful this week for alternate guitar tunings.
Okay, do you want to explain that one a little bit more?
Well, yeah, so instead of having a kind of standard tuning where you play kind of standard chords, you tune the strings to different pitches, and then it means that you can get kind of different phrasings, different sounds, different harmonies out of the guitar. And the reason I like it, the reason I'm grateful for it, is because actually fundamentally I'm a pretty limited guitarist. But when you tune the guitar to a different tuning, you get this whole array of new sounds and new chords that you wouldn't have otherwise got. And it kind of gives you new inspiration and opportunity to create. So that's what I'm grateful for this week.
Okay.
So
good.
So, discovering the joy of alternative tunings has given me a much broader, a much bigger canvas on which to paint.
Oh, right. Okay. Very artistic phraseology there. Well, I can put that on my what I've learnt this week list.
Yeah, you could do. Yeah. If we ever do a reprise of that particular feature, you'd be able to put it on there, wouldn't you?
I'm just going to. What I'm going to put on my gratitude list this week is that the fact that people trust me enough to ring me to chat things through.
Nice.
The reason I'm putting that on there is that we always advocate when people in the groups, if you're feeling a little bit dodgy, some of the cravings, perhaps in early recovery, starting to get a little bit twitchy, ring someone and have a chat. Take yourself away from the moment. And it's a bloody tough thing to do because people often think they're going to be the person on the other end of the line is going to be a bit irritated by them ringing, or it's going to be inconvenient for them. I know I went through exactly the same thought process myself, where I was thinking, well, is it going to be a bad time for them? Am I going to just be, just whinging on? But once you do it, it's brilliant. But I want to, just get the message across that the person that received the call gets a great deal from it as well.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Yeah. So the message there is people can ring you 24/7.
Well, there are limits, obviously.
Should we put your number out now?
That'd be good, wouldn't it? Especially during an England game. It might take a little while to answer.
Well, it's funny you should say that because I was just thinking about that when you were talking about how you feel grateful that people, trust you enough to call you when they're struggling, which is lovely. I'm quite grateful for apps like WhatsApp because when I'm watching the football, I can chat with you even though you're not in the room with me.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I quite like that because obviously it's quite nice watching the football with someone.
Yeah.
But if there isn't anybody there, then at least these days you can, message someone to talk about how useless Harry Kane is or what a waste of space Raheem Sterling is. And, whereas otherwise you just have to sit on your own and let it sort of fester, wouldn't you?
You do. Yeah. The football experience is better shared. That's for sure. I mean, I know I've been to, when you go to football matches on your own, it's not the same, is it?
No, it's not the same. No. I mean, for a start, there isn't someone next to you whose lens you can knock out of their spectacles celebrating a goal, is there?
Well, I wasn't thinking of that particularly. I was just thinking of having a little general chat. I don't want any violence being inflicted upon me or someone else, but I'll get the general point. So anyway, when I put Alien Abduction into Spotify this week, come up with an awful. There was loads in there. I mean, it's a subject matter which some people find quite fascinating. Some people are totally sceptical about. But
were these specific songs with the specific title, Alien Abduction, in the title?
Just those two words. There was enough to go on just with those two words without expanding it further.
Wow.
Yeah. And there was one by a group called Golden Beast, which was a sort of an ambient sort of dance tune, which was quite good.
Did you dance to it when you were listening?
I let it go for quite some time, actually, because sometimes I cut them off and think, no, that's rubbish, but I quite enjoyed that one.
But were you moving in a stylish way around your accommodation as you listened?
In a mysterious way. That's godlike.
That's young Stan, son of man, I think you're thinking of from Viz.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
He moves in mysterious ways.
I was doing a little bit of that, all on my own.
Yeah, I think that's good. There's nothing. I think dancing in the privacy of your own home when you're alone, nothing to be ashamed of there.
No, dance like there's no one watching. I think it's a good
That's
phrase.
the best way for me to dance, to be honest.
Me too, mate. Yeah. I think. Yeah. There's another one by a French group called Stone Falcons, which I quite liked.
Stone Falcons, right? Yeah.
And there's an American rock band called Average Joe and the Deplorables, which I quite liked. But the one I'm going to go for, is right up my street. It's back from 1981. Really, it was by a punk band called The Ejected. And that's their one called Alien Abduction. It's full of expletives and a proper thrashy 3-chord number. It's absolutely brilliant. So that's going on the list.
Totally unnecessary, in other words.
No, it's brilliant. In fact, apparently they've reformed and they're doing gigs in that at the moment. I bet they're a little bit long in the tooth, but still, it's a great track.
Basically with no musical quality is what you're telling me.
No, it's got real energy. It's brilliant. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but a gas fire has got real energy, but I wouldn't want to sit and listen to it.
You broaden your musical horizons, young man. Go and retune your guitar into something weird.
I think I've actually got quite broad musical horizons. I was thinking actually the other day, we were talking, I can't remember if we were talking about it on air. I think we were. We were talking about what the Venn diagram would look like in terms of our musical tastes.
Yes.
It strikes me that Venn diagram is actually a very good concept for a podcast where you pick a subject every week. You talk about things that you like in that subject and you find out where the overlap is. I think there's some mileage in that,
Yeah, it'd be quite... I can see that being dragged out a little bit then, to desperately trying to find something where you overlap. But yeah...
Crikey, I mean, we're the masters of dragging stuff out when there's absolutely no material.
Well, I think this episode illustrates that perfectly.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we've made a half-hour podcast out of Alien Abduction.
I know, yeah, it's great, wasn't it? We won't be the judges of that.
Not really, no. But it's always interesting to see if our listener numbers dip terribly.
Well, I think it's got a catchy episode title there, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It was clickbaity, isn't it?
It is a little bit clickbaity.
So if you've got to this stage, if you've got to this part of the podcast and you're waiting for a interesting tale about alien abduction, I'm sorry that we've let you down, but we are grateful for you listening. We had a lot of listeners in Australia last week.
Did we? I wonder what's happened there.
I don't know. Perhaps there was a lot of insomnia in Australia. Perhaps last week.
Perhaps there was. Perhaps I did not mention an Australian band. Perhaps that's what it is. Perhaps I tagged them in the post or something. I don't know. I can't remember.
May have done. I don't know.
Yeah, Tired Lion. Perhaps it was.
Tired Lion. Was that
Tired Lion fans?
I don't know if that was last week. Was it?
No. Several weeks ago. Perhaps it's taken a while to catch up. It's the other side of the world.
All right. Okay. So, well, enjoy your turkey thigh, won't you?
I will. Thank you very much.
What are you having it with?
Spinach.
Yeah. You are having spinach, are you?
Of course. Yeah. I have spinach. Makes me like Popeye, as you can see by my powerful guns.
You're more like Olive.
Anyway, let's call it a day there then, shall we? All right, then. Get back to turkey thigh.
All right. Yeah. See you later.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.